to what is the traditional highlight of any TheFED festival, our celebrity readings, where tonight, again, you are the celebrities.
It's called Back in Time for John. Something romantic, he said, words that can float in the head. I laughed as I lifted the pen and thought of the past back when life was a simple affair. My mind just drifted back there. The West End was romantic to me. All the sights from a bus one could see. The shops where fashion was sold, and the hero, tall, dark and bold. The Lyceum for ballroom dancing gave thought to the odd romancing. The big screen where magic was shown. In the dark you were never alone. Lost in the dreams of the heart, every picture made you a part. As the theatre faded away, you felt each emotion at play. C&A in Oxford Street. Selfridges made clothes a treat. So many stores were there, overflowing with tempting wear. Passing through Holborn would be the start of the city to me. Gamages stood, imposing and tall, a store that stopped gear for all. Remember the clink of the tin that held your loose change within? Backwards and forwards to glide, over your head to ride. The past holds romance for me, stored in my mind, you see. A journey that takes me again. Back in the past I remain. I can rewind and watch as I will. Each memory will live with me still.
I want to thank you all for giving me so much inspiration. I was brought up in the era when starving, shit-bespeckled orphans in Romania were held up as the inevitable consequence of communism. And genocide and emaciation were guaranteed to any anarchistic group that challenged the eternal truth that oil resources are God's gift to the developed nations. They used to call me Biafra boy at school. The developing nations were succinctly summed up in one four-letter word when I was growing up. In post-imperial England, wogs. There was a softer term which applied to the nations of southern Europe that we had devastated during our liberation operations in late 1944. Wops. I'm sure Shakespeare, or even Rabelais, would have been overjoyed if he could have found one four-letter word to express the English nation's disdain for Johnny Foreigner. Frog. Almost a hint of respect there. Kraut. The Germans even merit 5 letters. Our monarchy is German after all, and we would not have defended ourselves against the Hun, 3 plus 5 divided by 2 equals 4, if it hadn't been for the likes of Lord Mountbatten, née Battenberg, God rest his watery soul, assassinated by terrorists. Paddy. IRA. 5 plus 3 divided by 2 equals 4. Murdering bastards. I remember my Irish friend Jamie talking one night, very drunk, about his grandfather, how he had been taken into the main square in Dublin. Sorry, this is quite personal stuff. In 1916, he was told to kneel down and was shot with a pistol in the back of the head, no blindfold, by an officer of the Staffordshire Regiment. I remember feeling the shell shock when he said that. I genuinely had flashbacks to the trenches of Flanders. The Staffs were never in Ireland, Jamie. My granddad was in the South Staffs. Only 3 of his regiments survived the morning of the Somme. They merged with the North Staffs the next day so they could maintain a fighting force. The North Staffs had been at Ypres that morning, unable to move because of the mud. Don't give me your Irish bullshit martyr version of history. Several years later, Jamie and I met in another bar on another continent. Jamie, I have to apologise. I've looked up the regimental records. The staffs were in Dublin in 1916. My dad and my uncle Mal admitted that Grandad was in Ireland for a short time that year. He volunteered apparently as an easy pass out after 2 years in the trenches. He'd been buried twice by mortar blasts. He was not an officer. He was never issued with a pistol. I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm sorry.
Afternoon tea sandwiches made of cucumber. I sat on the chair opposite, waiting. For what? Another saga? Another tale? A flat we share, but not for much longer. Parting, not parting. Agreeing, not agreeing. Even the cat became the problem. Outwardly, all looked well. Our ploy to deceive the elders. I know it's a lot of nonsense, but I enjoyed it.
Lullaby. Good night, my friends. Good night. Farewell. You tried.
I've seen the stars dance, stepping across the night sky in erotic tango, glittering sequins catching the eye, as the back arches on the Great Bear. I've seen rushes on the lake entwining, pulling each other close in embrace, as they sing to each other and the wind. They say you can see visions of closeness, tenderness, if only you look for it. And I've seen the stars dance.
Travel to the end of time. The only reason is the ride. We are the light, why don't we shine? Travel to the end of time, the end of time. Light the way and light the song. Love is neither right nor wrong. Being fragile is what keeps us strong. Here is where we all belong, where we all belong. The universe has come and go, more than we can ever know. Sit and watch the flowers as they grow. We are one and all, it must be so. It must be so. Travel to the end of time. The only reason is the rhyme. We are
Come on, let it shine. Travel to the end of time. The end of time. The end of time. The end of time.
My vision. Enough food to keep the wolf from the door. A compassionate humanity, sharing its resources, living within its means. A world without war.
A very swan was flying, the forest was alive, and the lakes as cold as ice. It brought danger and warmth, nature's youth are far gone. I thought the end was nigh, charcoal burned in place of life. The eternal warmth of wisdom. This winter we may die.
Sweeping and gliding through distant places, I watched the eyes of the world watch me. Like pictures in a stream, I disappear in motion, swirl in minuscule pools, my colours in disguise, running into, fading out, pale and soft. My rays melt in the bottom of the sea.
Watching the autumn leaves fall. I'm seeing the forest falling, burning inside. Watching the icy water lower tide, still seeing the love in your eyes, still seeing the love. Still seeing the love. Go back, go on.
Lullaby. Good night, my friends. Good night. Farewell. You tried.
I've seen the stars dance, stepping across the night sky in erotic tango, glittering sequins catching the eye, as the back arches on the Great Bear. I've seen rushes on the lake entwining, pulling each other close in embrace, as they sing to each other and the wind. They say you can see visions of closeness, tenderness, if only you look for it. And I've seen the stars dance. Travel to the end of time. The only reason is
the ride. We are the light, why don't we shine? Travel to the end of time, the end of time. Light the way and light the song. Love is neither right nor wrong. Being fragile is what keeps us strong. Here is where we all belong, where we all belong. The universe has come and go, more than we can ever know. Sit and watch the flowers as they grow. We are one and all, it must be so. It must be so. Travel to the end of time. The only reason is the rhyme. We are the light, come on, let it shine. Travel to the end of time, the end of time, the end of time, the end of time.
My vision. Enough food to keep the wolf from the door. A compassionate humanity, sharing its resources, living within its means. A world without war.
A burning swan was flying, the forest was alive, and the lakes as cold as ice. It brought danger and warmth, nature's youth are far gone. I thought the end was nigh, charcoal burn in place of life. The eternal warmth of wisdom. This winter we may die.
Sweeping and gliding through distant places, I watched the eyes of the world watch me. Like pictures in a stream, I disappear in motion, swirl in minuscule pools, my colours in disguise, running into, fading out, pale and soft. My rays melt in the bottom of the sea.
Watching the autumn leaves fall. I'm seeing burning inside. Watching the icy water over time, still seeing the love in your eyes, still seeing the love. Still seeing the love. One more bang, go on.
Today she is one. She is the star. Her mother, her moon, and her father, her sun, put her in the car and they're off for a run. They go to a place that they've booked for the day. Her grandparents come to watch their star at play. But amidst all the pictures of cows, dogs and sheep, she closes her eyes and our star is asleep. Then when it's all over, the star is awake. She missed all the fun and we've eaten the cake. And there is nothing much more we can do. She'll just have to wait until she is two.
I went dancing with John in Worthing. We won a prize. Bubble bath and soap and lots of other stuff. Someone won a dog and gave it to me. It was a Labrador. It made me happy. Now it sits on my bed. This is the second one. Big Boy is a goldfish. He is big and spotted, black and white. I've got a cat. She has two names, Annabella and Susie. Susie is her nickname. John calls her Grandma. She's a bad cat. She scratches the furniture. She lives in Worthing with John. She tramples him in bed when he's trying to get to sleep. Maria.
Man around that's crazy like a fox. He lives in a house but sleeps in a box. He rocks and rolls every day. He looks at people in a strange way. Mr. Man, feeling sad. He's never happy, but he's always glad. Shoot his mouth out about some things. Comes round the corner, hits a king. His daddy's angry, eye on you. He looks at people and makes them stupid. Mr. Man, he's feeling sad. He's never happy, but he's always glad.
I've lived in the Forest of Dean for nearly 30 years. It's a place that you don't know about until you go there, and I continue to learn. And this year, 179 years later, there was a celebration for a guy called Warren James. Warren James led the foresters against enclosures. Enclosures was really, for me, the historical point when ordinary people who had land were told, get off. You have to, this land's been fenced off, you're going to have to pay for it, or you're going to have to work on it. No longer will it be land that you can earn your living and survive on. It was happening all over the country, and lots of things. If you look around the early 1800s, ordinary people were standing up because they didn't have a vote then. So we got together and we put on a day. About 200 people came, and I wrote this play, which was a sort of reenactment of the events of 1831. So I'm just going to read a little extract, and there's a song with a chorus that you can help with. So. I'm John Harris. I was with Warren and the others that morning on Wednesday the 8th of June 1831. We all gathered. There was 100 of us at least. And then we sees Machin and his 50 crown men. Ha! And we started tearing down fences. And we waited. But all he could do was watch. Ha! For the first time for 20 years, we felt like the forest was ours again. Then, he reads the Riot Act. And he tells us we must stop. Well, we listened to him, and we looked, and then we just laughed! And he went away. And he said he'll be back. Thursday night we got word that the troops were coming. So Friday morning he turns up with 50 soldiers, all the way from Monmouth, over the border. They stood watching us, and we couldn't believe it. But there was 2,000 of us, men and women and children and sheep. We shoved them out of Colford. And this is our campaign song. I'd like you to join the chorus. When I was bathing with me pants on, playing with a rubber duck, I dreamed of freedom and of hope. Then I dropped the bloody soap. Tear the fences, tear the fences, tear the fences down again. Come on. We must always tear the fences from the land. As they stood atop the floods, waiting for the tide to turn, he saw the concrete and the fences rising up from underground. Tear the fences, tear the fences, tear the fences down again. We must always tear the fences from the land. Give the bankers bigger hankies. Do not mock those on the dole. Pay your taxes, send less faxes, or bugger off and live abroad. Tear the fences, tear the fences, tear the fences down again. We must always tear the fences from the land. And a postscript is, the latest threat, we're talking about land. The Forest of Dean is currently under threat because the government is considering again to sell it off. If you want to support and oppose that forest, there's a Save the Forest campaign, national thing online. Please do support it, because I think the Tories have a different view of what land is. People who live on land know that they've got a connection to it. People who own land have a different view. So we do have to save the fences. Thank you. Tear those fences down.
Hands up our forest! Hands up our forest!
I'd just like to say that exactly the same thing is happening to Wanstead Flats. And Wanstead Flats was saved from the enclosures by a special act of Parliament that is now about to be revoked so that the police can build on it for the Olympics.
Shame.
Let's make it more. Don't let these go down.
Let's look
at ways
going up the West End, would you believe, after all these years?
Because the media likes to ignore stuff like this. Yeah. We've got a role to play as writers. So do write letters, find ways to use words.
Some journeyed out to the edge of the world and looked over. Others made love in the shadows or slept in the sun. Some stood alone and accepted the truth as their lover. And some flew to heaven and others just went on the run. It was that kind of day, that kind of day. Life for the living, love for the giving, don't throw it away. Some told a story and others just stood around listening. Some sat apart making maps of the past and the future. Some searched their souls and realized nothing was missing. And some flew to heaven and others just went on the run. And some died content in the knowledge that life lives forever. It was that kind of day, that kind of day. Life for the living, love for the giving, don't throw it away. Some walked a slow mile and some sat and stared at the silence. Angels, strangers and brothers came home, each one holding a rainbow. Strangers and brothers, I've got it all mixed up. Some walked a slow mile and some sat and stared at the silence. Strangers and brothers came home, each one holding a rainbow. Children and angels told truths which seemed more like emotion. And each brought a ghost who had run out of places to go. It was that kind of day, that kind of day, yeah. Life for the living, love for the giving, don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away.
Anyone with a centre partner has got to be a bit suspect. He has very trusting eyes, but you can't see them in the dark, so you can't trust them when the lights go out. The portrait is taken very close up, not giving away his stature. He could be very tall, or maybe not tall at all. The moustache looked well groomed, with just a hint of something other, a stray, giving a clear impression of a very carefully chosen way to look. Even that centre parting is well groomed, nothing careless about it. Properly cultivated, unnatural, trying to look natural, but not quite making it. The kind of face that says, you can trust me with your life. And we know that's true, we can trust them to end it. One other picture has a centre parting, but he's got shifty, staring eyes. Typical centre parting stuff. He'll nick anything not tied down, but murder, no. Back to Kay then. See his ears? Well, his left ear. Can't see the other one. They didn't have sellotape then, and it's so well pinned back, it's probably stuck with dry blood. One of his careful carelessnesses, knowing that in the light of day, the police will question him face to face, and his trusting eyes will see him through. Smarmy, arrogant bastard. He's laughing at them, laughing at us. Hence the saying, behind you. It's K. K for killer, that's the clue.
It's called Erotic Faults. The girls who were put before me, who filled the spaces next to the space I happened to fill, they enjoyed themselves, revealing their secret places, able to blame me, pinning it on my philandering. Filling spaces, empty spaces, is the game. The empty spaces of the heart and those close by, stimuli. In my confessional, they confess to me, a missing discourse of desire, the secret fire I fanned. Burnt now, the notice served, this is the price I pay for my erotic faults. Those rich seams, the carnal dreams, Canadian feminists have drilled and shored with pit props, tolling for years in those deep mines, cradling fears, dammed up by those insane beavers. Can we pay this price for their erotic faults? It was my erotic fault to reclaim a sexual right, as those studying women explored and derided patriarchy, only to embrace all the venom of some crazed Tory eyebrow monster, perched on the high throne of judgment, to better hear those sins like the priests of some future religion, founded on the vast emptiness of space that must be filled. The old faith says we must protect them from themselves, knowing good and evil, save them from this altar of transformation, from me and others like me and my erotic faults, to fondle themselves and have their children touched in the cloisters after Mass. The erotic fault lines of our country run from east to west and are detected in the problem pages, young men's rages and vagina monologues performed on West End stages. These fault lines will crack through soon. Old religions try to paper these cracks so that no fault should get through, tagging the limbs of the transgressors who limped sadly home. This is the price you pay for these erotic faults. The failure of the poetic rhyme caused by the police who failed to detect the real sex crime in the age of pornography and failed communication. It wasn't just the terrorists who bombed the trains when they were leaving the station.
See you later.
Willful disobedience. I'm thinking, should we always just stay quiet? Never ever cause a riot? Simply do as we are told? Because it's wrongful to be bold. Even if we're pegs that square, should we only ever dare to say, please round me up and shove me in? Or should we scream and shout and yell and give them 7 kinds of hell? Got the time, you must admit. Got the energy too. Righteous anger, we call it. So do you have the appetite to start to try and get things right? Do you want to join the game? Then come support our new campaign. The bastards who ride the nation's gravy train need us to get back to work again. Yes, Southwark Mind will be telling them all what they can do with their back to work call. And yes, after all, we might land in jail at their expense. At least this is some recompense.
A break from school. Saturday mornings, car washing, paper round, wages, shopping in town, working in town, going to football, watching TV, playing football, grandstand on TV. Football results, rainy days, adventures days out, holidays, sports days, athletic meetings, cross-country running, commentators motor racing, sport broadcasting, a place called home, cinemas, nightclubs, rock concerts, gigs in London, drinking in pubs, going out on dates, late night adult comedies, horse racing, dog racing, trips to other cities. A theatre show in London, a pantomime, glitzy advertising on cold winter nights, the night sky, action movies, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Willis, Gibson, dead rock stars, modern day living, high-class hotels, river trips on the Thames, Canary Wharf, Isle of Dogs, Carnaby Street, album covers, Andy Warhol paintings, Salvador Dali, escalators, lift music, department stores, coach stations, bus stations, rail stations, market towns, inner Peak District, rock climbing, outdoor pursuits, thunder, rain, lightning, rainbows, events, gifts, bank spending. Reflecting on previous events. 48 hours to take a break, or Friday night to Monday morning. Alcoholic binges. Drug-fueled weekends. Recovery in sight. Stabilisation services. Detox, blowtox, plastic surgeon, facial, breast implants, tummy tucks, nose reconstruction, nasal spray, nasal clippers, eyeliners, moisturiser, false teeth, raised lips, beautiful smiles, magazine covers. Something for the weekend, sir. Hunting, manor estates, mobile phone, text, aid, messaging, services on the internet, meeting, planned outing, seaside breaks, helicopters, rescue services, Billy Joel records. Oh, no, until we start the fire again! Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and talk to you soon. Bye.
That's hard to remember. Who did that one on the on your left hand?
Margaret. No, it was Margaret done that one.
Margaret was it?
Yeah, I can't think of her second name. She goes
That's
to
a beauty,
the
isn't it?
writers.
Oh, is she in your
day? She goes to the Thursdays.
Is that yours?
And what does it say?
I can't do that.
The haves and the have-nots.
Socialist propaganda, though.
I'm not going to change now.
What was your one
As I
called?
was clearing up, this little scrap fell down and it had the colour on it, so I put a dot on for the eye and then just whacked in some wings. And I thought, that'll do.
Yes. That is a piece of art.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
You both met Sarah.
Okay.